believe it. This is amazing that we get to be a part of this. It's pretty cool. Well, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy to get to this place, guys. You've worked very hard this year. There's absolutely no question about it. And what do we do after a lot of hard work? Well, we have a holiday. And so I wanted to talk on this idea. It's a bit unusual because often leadership talks and leadership content is often about just getting stuff done. And I guess this is about the opposite of that. This is not getting anything done. This is having a holiday. So hopefully this is received with in the spirit that it should be received with. And I'll just share this thought with you first, that I've wrestled with this whole idea of time off. I've wrestled with this whole discipline of having holidays. I'm the kind of person that thinks that my life's just pretty cruisy anyway, because Rachel does all the work, that, do I really need a holiday? And turns out that you do. You still need a holiday. And what I've learned is this, right? That rest is actually a biblical principle, because, God rested on the seventh day. There's a whole lot of other biblical principles around rest, around leaving the ground fallow after 7 years, about, just the cycles of seasons, a time for this and a time for that. So there's a whole lot of theology of rest you could talk about. I won't do that today, but rest is biblical. Rest is also a spiritual discipline. And so when I learnt that it's not just about taking time off, if I in my mind I can see it as a discipline, I'm like, oh, okay, it's something that I can kind of, although it's a holiday, I'm working towards it. I'm actually preparing for it. It's a spiritual discipline. It's something that I build into my life on a regular basis, on an annual basis, on a seasonal basis, on a weekly basis. Rest is a spiritual discipline. I was like, oh, okay, great. That makes sense to me. And then also rest, this is another revelation that I discovered, that rest is an exercise in trusting God, much like tithing. And so, we are entrusted with resources as people, and God entrusts us with those whom we lead, so the people resource, and we have to trust God with people. God entrusts us with the resource of finance, and we have to trust God with that, like tithing. So we give back to God an amount that God gives to us. We tithe, plus we also have a conviction to be able to give above and beyond that. And so that's a trust exercise where we go, okay, I'm going to trust God with this. Even though it looks like I don't have enough to get the rest of my stuff done, I'm going to trust God with the finances. And rest is the same, because rest is actually trusting God with your time. And that's a big one, where you go, okay, God, I'm going to take the time away from the activity. And that's actually saying that, God, you're going to do what only you can do, because I know that the time I've got, I can't accomplish all the things that I know I'd like to get done. So it's an exercise in trusting God. So for me, those three things were really key to help me be okay with having time off. So the biblical principle of it, like the Bible basically models it, so we should do it. Rest is a spiritual discipline, so we should be building it into our lives, and it's something that we can work towards. And rest is an exercise in trusting God. I thought, oh, great, it's something that I can take to God as an offering and as a gift. So what I wanted to speak to now is I want to give you some tips about how to rest well and how to have a holiday well. I'm going to give you these 5 quick fire tips in how to have your best holiday ever. Now, Denise has just come back from a holiday, so your next one's going to be your best ever. First one is this: finish with an empty plate. We tell our kids all the time, you're not having any dessert until you finish what's on your plate. Max always comes and tries to hold the plate on an angle so you can't quite see, and his fork covers up the rest of the food. He's like, oh, finished. No, you don't. You've still got a few little sneaky bits of pasta on that plate, Maxo. So finish with an empty plate. What does that mean? This is just a psychological setup for you that creates margin in your thinking. So at the end of, because you're never going to have everything finished ever. That's just life, right? So don't think that you're going to wrap it up in a bow and then go and leave. It's more just about you up here knowing, right, I've done everything I can do that to be ready for my break, that everything that needs to be done in the back end is all done, and now I can go away and I don't have to think about it, because I know I've done all the work to clear my plate before I go. And, the practical way that we do that is we do handovers and stuff. And, as leaders, we will be leading people. There'll be teams in our life. And even if it's just getting your own, dog fed while you're away, like there's stuff that's happening that's not going to happen if you're not there. So you have to do a handover of some kind. And so that question you're asking is, who is the next you? And we talk about this all the time. And this is where you really find out if you've got a next you or not when you go away. Who is the next you? And use this opportunity of you going away on leave as an opportunity to create an updraft for the whole organization. So you going on leave actually grows the rest of the stuff that's in your life. And when you go away, you don't delegate up. You don't say to the person who's your leader or your supervisor or your team leader, oh, can you do all these things while I'm away? Well, no, because our responsibility as leaders is to be inspiring others to step up into what's next for them, like Richard has done this year, where Rebecca said, hey, Rich, I need you to do this, this, and this while we're away. I need you to worship lead. I need you to do this for the hub. I need you to do this for and Richard, okay. And then Richard's responsibility now is to think, okay, well, who in my life could I be looking for to step up into what's next for them? So finish with an empty plate. And this is 1.A. Don't leave a sneaky plate in the fridge when you come back. So that's a good point. You should definitely, it's tweetable. What does your first week back look like? So when you come back, use your prophetic vision. What does the week back look like? Which meetings are you going to need to be in? Who are you going to be needing to lead? What conversations are going to have? And that first week back should not be a catch-up week. You don't spend that first week back catching up. Like when I have conversations with people who go away and they say to me, oh, it's first week back after leave, I've just got heaps of catch up to do. I'm thinking, mate, that's not how you should be leading. Like you don't catch up when you come back. When you do step one, just like without the A, you're making sure that your plate isn't overflowing when you return. So, if you're preaching, you prep all your messages before you go away. You plan all your meetings before you go away. You write all the agendas before you go away. You meet with all the people you need to meet with the week before you go away. You don't meet with them the week you come back. This is just some practical stuff to help us when we take leave, to leave and have holidays in the best way that we can. So that's number 1/1A. Number 2 is don't give your holidays to the holiday burglars. Don't give your holiday to the holiday burglars. Oh, who are these holiday burglars? Well, you know them.
It's your kids, isn't it?
As soon as you start, that's right, they're the holiday burglars. They're living burglars. As soon as you start talking about taking time off, the holiday burglars start circling, don't they? Oh, we should have a coffee while you're on leave. Oh, okay. Oh, you should bring the kids around and we should have a play date. Or, oh, we should go out to visit X. Or, oh, let's go to Y. Oh, you've got to make sure you come to that thing with us. Now, they're all great things to do, and they're lovely people. But this is what you have to remember, that these are your holidays for you and your family. Now, some of those things may be something that you can include in your life, but don't let your holidays be stolen away from you. Make sure that you own them and that you are intentional about how they're spent. I'm going to get to this in a minute, but how they're spent, who they're spent with. So just be careful of the holiday burglars, and don't be that person that just says yes to every invitation that comes your way as soon as someone finds out you've got free time. So just bear that in mind. And point 3, this point is going to help to keep the burglars away. Point 3 is teach yourself to treat yourself, or teach yourself so that you can treat yourself. Teach yourself. So you need to know yourself. What are you like? What do you really like when it comes to managing your schedule? Now, have a think about this, right? Because there are different kinds of people in the world, and people manage their lives differently. You need to use your own personality, your own style to your advantage when you're planning to take time away and plan to have a holiday. For example, if you typically overload your schedule, you need to get comfortable now before you have leave with having empty slots in your time of annual leave. Because what we typically do, if we're the kind of people that fill our schedule with stuff because we're high capacity, highly efficient, high functioning leaders, and we maximize our time, if that's our propensity when we are in workflow mode, then without thinking about it, our natural tendency will be to do the same thing when we have time off. We will start to fill up our time off with stuff to do, and where we think, wow, because when we're busy working, we think, oh, just when I'm on leave, I'd love to do this. Oh, our family should do that. Oh, we should go there. I'd love to visit this place. And so when we have our time off, we just start dropping in day after day after day, hour after hour after hour stuff if we typically schedule our normal calendar like that. So if that's you, get comfortable now with having empty space, like just gaps where you don't put something in it. It's empty. You leave it. You don't have to have something in there. You just leave it. Just have a day where you don't put anything in there. Just leave it. And I'm guilty of, Rachel can tell you that I'm like this. I'm like, well, let's plan to do this. Let's plan something today. Let's wake up with something to do. Well, on holidays, sometimes it's good for those people who are like that to wake up with nothing to do. I know. It's crazy, right? Now, that's for those kinds of people. However, there's the others. Yes, that's right. If you typically find that you naturally do leave large margin in your schedule, now there are people and there are leaders like this. Be careful not to squander your leave, because you want to return rested, but you also want to return refreshed and recharged, because that's different to rest. And holidays should do these three things. They should leave you rested, they should leave you refreshed, but they should also leave you recharged. And so if you have a holiday and you're not intentional about it, then what will happen is you'll come back and you'll be disappointed. Wow, I just had 3 weeks off. I could have done these 5 things and I did nothing. So there is balance, right? So know yourself and know who you are so that you can treat yourself, so that you can come back refreshed, recharged, and rested. So that leads to point 4, that to make sure that we are not just rested, but refreshed and recharged. Point 4, do something when you're meant to be doing nothing. This is doing something when you're meant to be doing nothing. Holidays are about rest, but they're also as much about refreshment. So here's a question for you. And I asked this question last week, I think. What refreshes you, or what sparks joy? What is it that really refreshes your soul? You do need to know what that is. And what is it that you absolutely love to do? Have a think about that before you take some time off, and then be intentional about doing it. Be intentional about making time for the thing you absolutely love to do. And I would argue that leave, as I said, is also about being recharged, not about being rested. And so how do you recharge? And I've got some ideas. So one of the things that recharges me, I think it might recharge others, is doing something we've never done before, doing something new, trying a new food, reading a new book, visiting a new place. Being intentional about those kinds of things is doing something when we're meant to be doing nothing. Don't just leave your entire time off completely empty. Make sure that you're recharging, that there's something filling your spirit and soul, that there's something that you're doing that you love to do, whether it's going to the beach or climbing a mountain or going out to the movies with friends or something. But also do something new. Use the opportunity not just to stay stuck, but try. Like I said, try new. If you like Sam Hines, try new food. If you like Luke Main, read a new book or a book. Or if you like Rachel, she likes to go to a place that she's never been before, and that's been hard this year. So maybe it's visiting a new place. What is it for you? What is it that when you do it, you just get so recharged? Finally, number 5, before we wrap it up, is, for God's sake, spend time with God. Now, as leaders in our world, we often spend a lot of time with God, not for God's sake. We spend a lot of time with God for the sake of other people. And now our lives, because they're ministry lives for the most part, they do tend to lean towards that time with God being for other people. And that's okay, because that's what we've been called to. That's our gift. That's our gift set. That's why we do what we do. But when we take some time off, we have to unravel the mindset that our time with God is to draw from God so we can give out to other people. When we're on that, and when we have all that time away from the work of ministry, we've got to spend time with God for God's sake. It's our opportunity to just be with God. No message prep, no meetings to lead, no people to bring an encouraging thought to, no Monday staff leadership lunches to speak to. You can spend time just being with God for God's sake. And this is why Jesus died, didn't he? I mean, it's why God, and it's the story of the people of God. It's why God released the Israelites from Egypt, because he wanted them for no other reason than just to be with him. He wanted his presence to be with his people. He wanted, and that's why he sent his son Jesus to die, was so that there would be no barrier between us and a relationship with God. And really, that's what it's all about. And so when we take time off, wow, it's such a great opportunity not to fill our world with stuff, not to fill our life with just getting things done, and not to spend time with God to give out to other people, but just to spend some time with God, full stop. And I know that when we do this, something does change in us, because encounters with God always leave us transformed. And so you can't really beat it. There's nothing better than it. And if we've lost the love for it, then we have to get it back. We have to, and time with God will do that. And so if it's, if you need to spend an hour, if you need to spend two, you just spend as much time as you need with God for the sake of just being with God. And it should be a life-changing, transformational experience for you. And you will come back from your holiday having the best holiday that you've ever had in 5.5 easy steps. So to that end,